Hello, everyone. I hope things are great with you. Addiction is a shackle, it is a debilitating problem. It's basically a mental disease, right? Because it's part of the mind that is abstract, like mathematics, right? You just can't touch it, it is just intangible. Because it's in its nature to be abstract, it's difficult to heal someone or to recover someone from an addiction. Other parts of the physiology of the body, it's okay, right? You can touch and feel and you do something about it. The mind is so abstract, which is why it's so convoluted, it's so confusing, it's difficult to actually make someone to not go back into addiction. It requires a certain strength of the patient themselves, right? A disclaimer here is that I am not a psychologist, nor a psychiatrist, nor anything to do with medical professional in terms of healing someone from the mental disease. I do have some foundation in psychology, but I'm not practicing psychology. I'm an astrologer, a Vedic astrologer, and through Vedic astrology, there are many things in the scriptures, especially in the Brihu Samhita and the Saravali, that actually talks about addiction. How the mind is shadowed by certain grahas, and through that shadowy eclipse, we tend to lose certain things, especially our self-control. And so let me talk to you a little bit about that. But again, it is imperative that you understand that if you are an addict or if you know someone who is in an addictive state, it is only best to connect with them to a professional. So either through rewiring the mind to have a different thought process, auto-suggestion, hypnosis perhaps, which is part of psychology, or psychiatry, where they go into medicine. Either way, if you know someone, it is best to seek medical attention. All of us are addicts in certain ways. It's a spectrum, right? But for some, it's just in a very acute state. That's the only difference here. And so we need to understand that first, as an astrologer, again, you are in the healing business. When someone comes to you, make sure you are empathetic to begin with, right? Hear what they're trying to say. Listen to them first, right? Do not go and just start to fix problems. Listen to them. Most of the time, the mental anguish that they have is because there's no one to listen to them. Right? It's important that you listen to them, care for them, and practice compassion, right, before going into fixing them. If you are an aspiring astrologer, remember these words that I've just said. As I said, it's a very complex, convoluting subject. It's not an easy thing. As an astrologer, I too, just like the psychologist, would go through an assessment. I have a series of questions which I will ask them, and based on that, I'll connect them to Vedic astrology and to see what are the things that it requires. But generally speaking, of course, I cannot be giving you all the details. And again, if you are an addict, or if you know someone who is in addictive state, best is to connect with a medical professional. Or if you need, because I have given certain parigarams or remedies who have ensured that they don't fall into relapse. Relapse means they go back, they don't do something, they're in addictive state. Say they're smoking, chain smoker, they smoke and smoke and smoke. And one day they just stop. And then after some time again they go back to smoking. That going back is called a relapse. I've paid from the parigarams that are prescribed to my clients. There are many successful cases even until today. I have communication with them saying that they are fine. They're not going back into what we call as relapse again to their addictions. In Vedic astrology, based on the scriptures, there are also, it's an avenue. It's not the only avenue, but it's an avenue for addiction as well. Once again, I'm sorry to rehash again and again, but if you're an addict, and this is a disclaimer, if you're an addict or if you know someone who's an addict, please get medical attention. And astrology is an appendage or probably a secondary way. If nothing works, then you can always come to Vedic astrology, because there are cases which I have worked on in the past who are successfully relieved from this addiction. What are the types of addiction? Well, sex is one thing, which includes pornography or infidelity, having a different spouse. You have a spouse, but you have intimacy with other people out there, sometimes even strangers. This is a mental disease, actually. Sexual innuendos, and it goes very complex. As I say, I have many cases like this, and it's very complex. How they feel sexually aroused with other than their partners, and all these things are basically an alarming state. These are all telltales to get yourself checked. Gambling is another one. They just can't help themselves. They need to gamble somehow or other. People who have problem with the internet addiction. This is a new one, but I've been seeing it again and again. They just cannot help themselves. It's not like you or me who looks at the phone every now and then. These people, they need to look at the phone. They need to hold. If they miss their phone, that's it. They'll become agitated, angry. Sometimes people go into a rage when they don't have their phone with their hands. So they need to scroll, they need to check, they need to know what's going on. Internet addict, some gaming addict, kids, mainly kids and teenagers and young adults who are going into games. They're so much addicted into these games as well. Food addict. Substance is the common one. Substance includes taking drugs, smoking, and alcohol, right? There are some unique ones as well. But again, to start with the process, as I said, you need to have an assessment done. These are the things that you need to, it's a series of checkboxes. Of course, this was developed by myself based on different experience that I get over the years. And I've streamlined it into a very proper assessment, a series of questions which I ask. Based on that, I'll be giving them certain parigarams, remedies. But the high level way of treating this will be, number one, Rahu and Ketu, because these demons are the one that actually eclipses. They are the one that shadows the mind. Remember, if you look at the genesis or the root cause of addiction is lack of self-control. Basically, that is the root cause. But if you look at the genesis of self-control, you would see that it is the willpower. So willpower, self-control, and then you have addiction, right? So it all starts with the willpower. They lack willpower. From lack of willpower, they lack self-control. From lacking of self-control, they have no other choice but to go into something and perform it in a very repetitive way. They go for drinks once in a while, every once a month, or every Saturday night with their buddies. And this gets, in a frequent way. Then they go on every Fridays, then they go after lunch, then they have it alone by themselves at home, or even while driving. So all these things, a repetitive process which gets increasing in its depth. What else? Same thing for the others in food and sex and gambling and internet and substances. They're all the same. If you lose self-control, which is again the genesis is willpower, right? And you will go into this repetitive problem. So willpower is Surya Bhagwan, the sun. You need to look at the position of the sun, everything about the sun. There's a plethora of things for you to check. Second thing is you look at willpower, which is Mars, Mangal, right? Mangal, that's important. The third, you need to look at Rahu and Ketu. These are, it goes without saying, it's superfluous. You need to check Rahu and Ketu. Of course, if you have Rahu and Moon together, that's a curse actually. It's a dosha when it comes to Vedic astrology. These are some of the top things that you need to check if somebody is going through addiction, or if you yourself are in an addictive state. Then you can check your charts to see what are the remedies that you need to do in order for you to come out of it. Now, I know it sounds deep, technical, and convoluting. So if you need to have it checked, I can always do this for a small fee. Do connect with me, and the details is in the bio, and we can take it from there. So talk to you soon.